Joel Penhorwood here for the Ohio AgNet. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. What a key time of year to be talking about the inputs that we are going to be needing to utilize on Ohio's farm fields in the coming season. And some inputs need to be really considered to be brought on at planting season. Talking with Adam Byrne, FMC Technical Service Manager. He covers a wide width of the Midwest here, talking to Michigan, Indiana, but more importantly, Ohio. And we're going to be talking about specifically their fungicide Xyway, which is pretty unique in that it is brought on at planting. It's not one that we have to kind of keep re-upping throughout the season via foliar methods. But Adam, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. The importance of thinking about this year. So important.
Absolutely. You know, with farming, one thing we know is a guarantee is uncertainties. We don't know every year the weather or what our disease pressures are, but we know there's going to be some problems on some level. And we're really excited about how our Xyway fungicides are performing. And with that at planting application kind of setting the stage and being kind of preemptive, kind of proactively addressing some of these concerns is really an advantage to the growers.
Let's talk about that at planting. We'll kind of start there. Pretty important, again, to be thinking about this now as we're talking to folks here in February, be thinking about getting ready for planting season. Hard to believe it's already time, but man, what an advantage that could bring.
Yeah. And, Xyway has the active ingredient flutriafol, which is really novel in the fact that it's very systemic. And so we can put that down at planting with, we have two different formulations, our LFR liquid fertilizer ready formulation, or this 3D Thrive system. It's a foam band that goes directly in furrow. But otherwise, this LFR formulation that most growers are using, you put off the seed a little bit, 1/2 inch to 2 by 2 or up to 3 or 4 inches, and side dress is an opportunity as well. But that puts that band in the soil that the roots can access, and it pulls it in all season long, moves it through the plant into that foliar tissue. And then when the diseases move in, you've got that protection, kind of that inside out protection already established. And that really is giving that plant a jump start in terms of that disease protection. And it gives you flexibility because it has really strong activity against the leaf spot diseases like gray leaf spot, northern corn, or southern corn leaf blights. And so traditionally, growers have had to spray at that tassel timing to control those diseases. But with Xyway in the system, you don't have to worry about that. It controls those. And now with tar spot in the landscape, which is really a driving disease now for a lot of growers, and it's moving eastward. Maybe parts of Ohio haven't seen as bad as Indiana, but it's coming. And there are pockets where they have, obviously. And so by not having to worry about that tassel application for those other diseases, it gives growers a flexibility to time that foliar application to really be optimal for giving you that protection against tar spot as long as you can into that grain fill period.
Adam, I'm so glad you jumped into tar spot. Really nice lead in there. Thank you for that. Because what a big conversation piece that we've been talking with farmers about. In Ohio, 2024, specifically Southeast Ohio, hit so hard by those droughts. But as a result, we're left with a lot of questions with regard to disease impact. We know tar spot is getting worse and worse, and we need to be more on guard for it. So did we see corn get impacted more by that because they were weakened due to less moisture? Or are we going to really need to be on guard in 2025 because of what could be a higher moisture year and just a better opportunity for that disease to be in place? And from what my thought is, we can't tell the future, but we can try to guard against it. We can try to guard against it.
Yeah, the one thing we definitely know about tar spot is it's here to stay. It survives on residue. It's always going to be there at the end of the season. None of the fungicides we use, foliar or at plant, are going to be that season-long silver bullet. So when they wear off, that efficacy of a foliar spray wears down, that tar spot's going to ramp up and have some progression. So at harvest, we're always going to see a little bit out there, but that just primes the inoculum for next year. So if the environmental conditions in your area are right, the risk is there. And so we don't know from year to year what our weather conditions are going to be, but absolutely we know that tar spot's in our system and is a risk we have to be ready for. And Xyway does a great job of preparing us for that, as we just discussed. It sets the stage, helps knock back those other diseases. And it's shown by creating a healthier plant. There's a lot of crop development benefits we see with Xyway, but we see a much healthier, stronger plant. It's kind of like an immune boost, right? Going into that infection period, it's holding off that onset of tar spot, maybe up to 10 to 14 days, giving you a little bit more window to respond and just holding off that progression. So we hear it from growers and retailers region wide that they just feel that their Xyway plots are just holding off that tar spot, not responding as fast, which is a great advantage for the growers.
Now, Adam, Ohio's got, a wide width, again, a wide breadth of soil types, farm patterns, all kinds of weather that we see, north to south can be totally different. From your experience, how does Xyway perform in those areas?
Xyway is shown to be very effective in all soil types. Really, some of the benefits is, we see advantages in drought conditions. When we have really dry situations, Xyway, one of the crop development benefits we get out of Xyway is enlarged or enhanced root masses and more root forks and more root volume, which has allowed us to see greater water utilization and nutrient uptake from those treated plants. So, our soil types vary, but that also changes with our water availability. And so Xyway has really shown consistent results across soil types, but also across environmental conditions in terms of providing that boost to the plant and that kind of, return on investment for you. Think about our nutrient amendments and our additives with, our nitrogen and so on. By having better nutrient uptake and water utilization, we're getting more out of those inputs.
We talk about, hey, there's a lot of success stories out there with regard to some of that research that you've been mentioning across different soil types. Any stories you like to kind of point to in particular of say, hey, it really worked well in this situation? It's one of those that we like to share with folks, or any research in particular, any numbers you like to throw out there and say, hey, really like to kind of highlight this, keep this in mind as you're thinking about what inputs to bring into your operation here into 2025.
Yeah, there's a lot, right? I mean, like I mentioned, the nutrient uptake, there have been studies out of University of Wisconsin that showed, a 7.5% foliar nutrient tissue detection of the nutrients they sampled with those Xyway plots, and an 81% win rate in those fields tested. So, there's all kinds of research out there in those regards. And then from the disease perspective management, we're seeing research just showing that really effective control of those leaf spot diseases, such that we have a healthier, stronger plant going into that tassel stage, which is exactly what we're targeting. We hear it all the time with these early vegetative sprays where we're targeting plant health benefits. Here you've got it with that free pass at planting, where you're already going across the field and you're getting that application. And then the other thing we're seeing in the heavy tar spot areas, growers are now actually kind of having to spray twice, 2 foliar passes to really get effective control. So once at tassel for those other leaf diseases, and oftentimes another one kind of that R3 window to hold off tar spot. Whereas, Xyway is allowing growers in most of those years, unless it's an incredibly bad tar spot year, which we don't see until every 8-10 years or so. They're able to get away with 1 foliar application following Xyway application, because that's controlling those early season diseases. So that's really, knocking out an application cost for one of those foliar apps, and it really is a benefit financially.
Hey, I want to find out more information. Of course, talk to your local retailer, but also more information at FMC's website, I'm sure.
Yeah, www.ag.fmc.com. There you go.
Joining us today on the Ohio AgNet, Adam Byrne, FMC Technical Service Manager. He covers Ohio and has been doing a great job here of covering this good topic of a fungicide to think about using at planting. That's a nice one versus, in furrow versus foliar, and definitely something to think about as you look ahead to 2025, as planting season is right around the corner. Adam, thanks so much for joining us here today.
Hey, thank you for having me.
For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Joel Penhorwood. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.